Focus only on how far you've come. This simple but profound truth has the power to transform the way you see yourself, your journey, and your destiny. Too often, we measure our worth by how far we have yet to go, by the distance that separates us from our dreams, and by the endless horizon of what we have not yet achieved. But the secret of progress, the fuel of perseverance, lies in turning your eyes back upon the path you have already traveled, upon the victories you have already won, and upon the growth that is already within you. Think of the man or woman who dares to set out on a journey of 1,000 miles. If they focus only on the 1,000 that remain, discouragement will soon set in. But if they look back upon the miles already conquered, each step becomes a source of strength, each moment a reminder that they are capable of more. The human mind is capable of carrying the heaviest burdens if it is sustained by remembrance of progress, by evidence of its own advancement, and by the faith that the same force which carried it through yesterday will carry it through today and tomorrow. When you stop to measure your journey, do not compare it to the path of another. Do not weigh yourself against those who appear further ahead, for the great truth is that comparison is a thief. It robs you of your joy, your confidence, and your clarity of purpose. Your only measure is yourself, and your only competitor is the person you once were. The richest satisfaction comes not from being ahead of another, but from knowing that you are ahead of who you were yesterday. Consider the seed planted in the ground. If it looks up at the mighty oak towering over it, it may despair of ever reaching the sky. But if it remembers that yesterday it was only a dormant shell in the soil, today it can rejoice in the sprout it has become. And tomorrow it will find that the small green shoot has stretched taller still, until one day it will shade the earth just as the oak does. You too are like that seed. The victories of your past, whether small or great, are proof that growth is already yours. The world is filled with voices that will try to convince you that you are behind, that you have not achieved enough, that you are late, unworthy, or inadequate. These voices whisper in your mind and shout from the mouths of others. They are the voices of fear, of envy, and of discouragement. But when you train your thoughts to focus only on how far you've come, you silence those voices. You become your own source of courage, for you recognize that the distance you have traveled is evidence of your resilience, your persistence, and your strength. Think of the individual who learns a skill, who at first struggles with clumsy hands and uncertain steps. Each mistake becomes a torment if they look only at how far from mastery they are. But if they look back at the day they first began, when their hands were weaker and their mind less trained, they will see clearly that they are advancing. Progress, however small, becomes a mighty encouragement when it is acknowledged. The habit of recognizing your progress is the habit of nourishing your soul with proof of its power. Every success in history was built by men and women who understood the value of progress, not perfection. The inventor who failed 1,000 times could only rise again because he measured not by the 1,000 that remained, but by the one step closer he was to success. The artist who painted endlessly until mastery was achieved could endure because each painting brought a lesson, and each lesson brought improvement. The leader who endured setbacks could stand tall because he remembered that yesterday he knew less than he knows today. In the same way, you must learn to see your life as a series of victories already achieved. It is easy to dismiss your progress because it seems small. You may say, "I have only climbed a few steps on a staircase of 1,000. But pause and reflect. Those few steps are proof that you are not at the bottom. They are proof that you are moving. They are proof that you possess the will to rise, and the same power that carried you up the first few steps is the power that will carry you up the next. Never belittle your progress, for in belittling it you weaken the very spirit that carried you forward. You have endured storms that once threatened to destroy you. You have walked through nights that seemed endless. You have risen from failures that once appeared final, and here you are standing. Do not let your eyes be so fixed on the horizon that you forget the valleys you have already crossed, for each valley conquered is a fortress of strength within you. Each mountain climbed is a testimony that you can climb again, and each scar upon your heart is proof that you are stronger than what tried to break you. The secret of perseverance is memory, memory of victory, memory of growth, memory of strength. When you remember what you have already done, you awaken faith in what you can still do. Faith is not blind. Faith is the recognition that if progress was possible yesterday, it will be possible again today. And if today brings progress, then tomorrow will also yield its fruit. Do not despise the slow pace of your progress, for the journey of life is not measured by speed, but by direction. The tortoise that moves steadily forward will reach the destination, while the hare that races and falters may never arrive. Your steps, however small, are valuable, for they prove you are in motion. And when you focus only on how far you've come, you will find within yourself the strength to take the next step with confidence. The mind is a marvelous machine. It becomes what it is fed. Feed it with memories of failure, and it will doubt. Feed it with thoughts of inadequacy, and it will weaken. But feed it with remembrance of victories, of challenges overcome, and of growth already achieved, and it will rise with courage. The mind needs proof, and your past is filled with it. Every victory is a brick, and when stacked together, they build a fortress of unshakable faith. There will always be more mountains to climb, more goals to pursue, more horizons to reach. If you focus only on what is left undone, you will live in perpetual dissatisfaction, never tasting the joy of your present progress. But if you pause to acknowledge how far you have already come, gratitude will fill your heart. Gratitude is not passive, it is a fuel. Gratitude empowers you to move forward with strength because it reminds you that you are already blessed, already growing, already advancing. Even in your darkest seasons, you have come further than you think. When you wanted to quit, you did not. When you were broken, you healed. When you were weak, you found a way to rise. These are victories worth remembering. Do not let your victories go unrecognized. Do not let your growth go unnoticed. For the habit of acknowledgement is the habit of self-belief, and self-belief is the foundation of every great achievement. If a man or woman waits to celebrate only when they reach the final destination, they rob themselves of the joy that sustains them along the way. But the wise traveler celebrates each step, each mile, each turn of the road, knowing that the journey itself is victory. Your life is not merely a race toward a finish line, it is the collection of every step already taken. And when you focus on how far you've come, you live with joy even before the final destination is reached. You may ask, but what of my failures? What of my mistakes? Do they not prove that I have not come far enough? No. Your failures are proof that you dared to try. Your mistakes are proof that you had the courage to move. Every stumble is part of the road, and every fall adds to your strength. Look back at your failures not as chains, but as teachers, for they have shaped you into who you are. And when you look back at them with the eyes of wisdom, you will see that they too are part of how far you've come. The human spirit is designed to grow, to expand, to rise. Each day you learn, you experience, you overcome. You are proving this design. Never forget that progress is progress, no matter how small. The seed does not become the tree in one day, but each day it grows, and each day it becomes more than it was. So it is with you. Look at your life with the eyes of growth, and you will see that you are further than you once were, and that is reason enough to keep going. So, let this truth take root in your heart. Focus only on how far you've come. Not on what others have done, not on how far you still must go, not on the doubts that whisper you are not enough, but on the undeniable evidence of your own journey. For the moment you shift your focus, the burdens of discouragement will fall away, and the fires of determination will burn within you. In conclusion, let me say this: You have already come further than you once thought possible. You have already survived what you once feared would destroy you. You have already achieved what once seemed out of reach. Focus on these victories, celebrate them, let them strengthen you, for when you remember how far you've come, you will never again doubt how far you can still go.
Every time you take a breath in this life, you are testifying to resilience. Think of the battles you fought in silence, the struggles no one else saw, the moments where only you knew how heavy the weight felt. And yet, here you stand. Many forget the daily battles they conquer because they look only at grand achievements. But progress is not measured only in the trophies of life. It is measured in the nights you refused to give up, in the mornings you rose when you didn't want to, in the choices you made to push through when it would have been easier to retreat.
These are victories that mark the distance you have traveled, victories that prove you are not where you once were. There are people who will try to define you by what you have not yet achieved, but those judgments do not see your inner journey.
Only you know the truth of where you started and how far you've traveled. Perhaps others see just a small step forward, but you know that step represents mountains overcome within yourself. That is why you must focus only on how far you've come.
For if you allow the opinions of others to define your pace, you will lose the motivation that comes from your own inner testimony. Look back on the lessons you have learned. At one time you may have lacked clarity, and you may have stumbled in confusion. But today you see with greater wisdom. That wisdom did not arrive overnight. It was carved out of your mistakes, your failures, your persistence. If you only measure yourself against what you do not yet know, you will despair. But if you measure yourself against the ignorance you once held, you will recognize that you are advancing. Growth is invisible in the moment, but obvious when you glance behind. Every life is a climb up an unseen mountain. The summit is hidden, shrouded by clouds of uncertainty, and the climb is steep. If your eyes stay fixed on the summit alone, you may feel overwhelmed by its distance. But if you stop to look back, you will see the valleys left below, the cliffs already scaled, the obstacles already behind you. That vision of progress is what ignites the courage to keep climbing. Your spirit craves recognition of progress because without it, hope withers. You must remind yourself of how far you've come so that hope can be sustained. Hope is not a luxury. It is the fuel that carries you through hardship. Without hope, the journey stalls. With hope, even the most difficult road becomes bearable. The recognition of progress feeds that hope, making it strong enough to endure anything. Do not dismiss small victories as unworthy of notice. They are the stones upon which your greater victories are built. The habit of overlooking them creates ingratitude, and ingratitude robs you of strength. But when you celebrate them, when you give thanks for them, you compound their power. They become reminders that you are advancing, and advancement, no matter the size, is victory. Think of the countless days behind you when you faced doubt and yet still acted, when you faced fear and yet still stood, when you faced temptation to quit and yet moved forward. These moments woven together create the distance you have already covered. And if you pause to see it clearly, you will find reason to continue, for the same inner strength that carried you through them still resides within you now. When you train your mind to focus only on how far you've come, discouragement will find no lasting place in you. For discouragement thrives only in the soil of comparison and dissatisfaction. But gratitude, rooted in progress already made, leaves no room for despair. Each day you remind yourself of your growth. You fortify your mind with proof that you are capable of more. And once the mind believes you are capable of more, no power on earth can keep you from it. Every human being carries within them a history of triumphs that often go unnoticed. You have endured seasons that seemed impossible at the time, yet those very moments forged a strength in you that others cannot see. If you look only at the future, you may believe you are unprepared. But if you look at the past, you will recognize that every step has already been preparing you. The very struggles you thought would break you have built the foundation that supports you now. Progress is not always loud, but it is always real, and when you acknowledge it, you remind yourself that you are not powerless. You are advancing steadily. Too many people lose heart because they measure themselves against the final picture instead of appreciating the pieces already assembled. They want the masterpiece before they value the brush strokes, but greatness is built stroke by stroke, moment by moment, choice by choice. Each time you chose persistence over surrender, each time you chose discipline over distraction, each time you chose hope over despair, you were painting another piece of your masterpiece. When you step back and see how far you've come, you begin to see that masterpiece emerging. Even the smallest of steps carries significance. A single day of effort repeated over time builds habits. Habits shape character. Character creates destiny. When you look back and recognize that you have already formed stronger habits, developed sharper character, and cultivated greater resilience, you see that destiny is already unfolding in your favor.
You no longer need to question if you are capable. You have the proof in the life you have already lived. Think about the times when you felt lost, when the future looked like a closed door. Yet somehow, doors open.
Somehow paths appeared, somehow you moved forward. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that life rewards those who keep moving, even when they cannot see the outcome. If you lose sight of this truth, you will grow weary. But when you remind yourself of how often you have already been carried through the impossible, you will find new energy to keep moving into the unknown. Focusing on how far you've come also changes the way you see obstacles. Instead of fearing them, you begin to trust them. You understand that every obstacle already overcome was a step toward your growth, and so the obstacles ahead are no longer threats but opportunities. When you remember the challenges you have already faced and surpassed, you realize that the next challenge is simply another stepping stone on the same path of progress. There is a quiet confidence that comes from this way of thinking. It does not boast, it does not compare, it simply knows. It knows that growth has happened before, and it will happen again. It knows that each season has brought lessons, and the next will as well. It knows that setbacks are not endings, but turning points. And this knowing becomes a shield against doubt, a defense against fear, a source of peace even in the storm. So let your heart be lifted each time you remember how far you have come. For when you focus on that truth, you will never again believe the lie that you are standing still. You are always in motion, always growing, always rising. The very fact that you are here, still moving forward, is the undeniable proof. There is a power that awakens in you when you take a quiet moment to reflect on the distance already covered. You may not always feel strong in the present moment, but when you retrace the journey you have walked, you begin to see the evidence of that strength written in your story. You see the decisions that shaped you, the hardships that trained you, the victories that carried you forward. Even the days you considered ordinary were not wasted, for they were days in which you built consistency, resilience, and the discipline that continues to move you forward now. So many people overlook their own journey because they fix their gaze on someone else's race. They see another person seemingly ahead and immediately dismiss their own growth as insignificant. Yet, what they fail to understand is that their road, their climb, their progress is uniquely theirs. No two journeys are ever the same, and no comparison can accurately measure the value of your steps. Only you can know what it cost you to arrive at this point. Only you can know the weight you carried and the courage it required. That alone makes your journey remarkable. Think of the times you stood at a crossroads and chose the harder path, the one that demanded more sacrifice, more patience, more endurance. At the time, it may have felt like a burden. But looking back now, you see that those very choices created the distance you have traveled. They built the progress that sustains you today. If you focus only on how far you've come, you will find a deep sense of satisfaction in knowing that your sacrifices were not in vain. They have brought you to this moment of greater strength, and they will carry you into moments of even greater achievement. Every human spirit has within it the memory of triumph, but too often those memories are buried under layers of doubt. The task before you, then, is to bring them back into the light. Remember the day you accomplished what once seemed impossible. Remember the day you rose from failure with determination in your eyes. Remember the day you felt powerless and yet discovered a power greater than you realized you had. These memories are not just fragments of the past. They are the fuel of your future. There is no step you have taken that is wasted if it has brought you forward in character, wisdom, or strength. The distance you have traveled is not measured only in material gains or outward recognition. It is measured in the invisible growth within you, the transformation of your spirit, the sharpening of your mind, and the hardening of your resolve. When you focus on this, you will see that you are far richer, stronger, and more capable than you once believed. The habit of gratitude for progress is not just about feeling good. It is about creating momentum. Gratitude feeds persistence, persistence feeds effort, and effort feeds results. By focusing on how far you've come, you ignite this cycle of progress again and again. It keeps you moving when the road grows long. It steadies you when doubts arise, and it lifts you when obstacles attempt to weigh you down. Look at your life through this lens, and you will never again feel as though you are starting from nothing. You are not at the beginning, you are already in motion. You have already covered ground. You have already built a foundation. And no matter how far the road stretches ahead, you have proof, undeniable proof, that you can continue. In conclusion, the greatest strength you can give yourself is the habit of remembering how far you've already come. Life will always present new challenges, new mountains, and new distances to cover. But discouragement loses its grip when you recognize that you are no longer where you once were. You have endured, you have risen, you have advanced, and that is proof of your power to continue. Do not waste your energy comparing your journey to another's or lamenting the distance ahead. Instead, celebrate your victories, however small, for they are the stepping stones that brought you here. Let the memory of your progress be the fuel that drives you forward, the anchor that steadies you in storms, and the light that assures you that tomorrow holds even greater possibilities. Focus only on how far you've come, and you will never again doubt how far you can still go.